That was the counter at 0. I just realized it is no matter what time of the day I jump on a stream, the first thing is always to grab a sip of coffee. So, what can we say? Hello and welcome. I have a little something that I just want to do a little stream with. The CTO shop is or has grown by one more product, namely the Metropolis Ark 1 template for Cubase. So what's this all about? In case you are either lazy or don't want to jump into template building, or just enjoy having something, have the sandwich been made for you and served and you only need to eat, this is what it's all about. So if you happen to have Cubase and also happen to have Orchestral Tools Metropolis Ark 1, this might be something for you. The template comes with pre-made versions for the Sign Player and for Contact 6. So no matter which version you're working with, both should work fine. And I have open here the Sign Player version, which is pretty much just one instance per instrument. So there's a bunch of sign players here loaded, ready to go. And cool thing is that this whole thing doesn't eat that much. So the whole template sits at like 10, 11 gigs of RAM. So that is actually laptop friendly. If you have a Mac with 16 gigs of RAM, you should be able to pretty much run this on a Mac. Also, every single instrument is pre-mixed based on the track that I wrote with it, of course. So saying you get a pre-mixed template is to be taken with a grain of salt, of course, because if you write something else than the track that has been written by me, which you're likely going to do when you work with it, you need to adjust. So these mix settings are just starting points to get you going, but you obviously need to adapt that to whatever you write with it. So you can't just slam on all the presets and call it a day. I mean, maybe you can, but there's always room for improvement, so to say. Without further ado, let's jump straight in. And I wrote a little track that you get with the template as well. So you can check it out for yourself on your own system, jump into the MIDI, jump into the mixing, see how it's all done and how it sounds like. So let's give it a quick play through. Hey, Blue Oceans, nice to have you around. Good to see you. So here we go. That's the track I wrote with it. I hope the audio is fine. Let me know if there's any issues out there in the world. I hope not. Here we go. that's the little demo track that I wrote for the template to give you something that is mixed already. A few pointers that are important to know. This time I did not include a stock plugin version. So you need the Slate subscription or at least the Slate virtual mix rack for this template, because it's just so friggin' efficient on CPU and just works awesomely great. So that's why I decided to go with completely with Slate virtual mix rack on this one. And you get all the presets as a bank within the template, so you can apply that also outside of the template. So if you work on another track and have some Metropolis Ark loaded, you can, hey Potro, thanks so much, appreciate it. Hop over to the store and grab it. Ram, buddy, lovely to see you. So that means you have the full access to the mixes on the individual instruments, as well as, let me quickly bring in the subgroups and the routing. All the stem mixes on the strings, for example, these are also instances of the virtual mix rack. And you won't believe what is happening on the guitar. I initially had FabFilter, but since the Infinity EQ from Slate is part of the Slate bundle, I did that with the Infinity EQ. These curves look pretty crazy if you look at them on their own, but I just realized that this was switched off. That actually needs to be on. But when you listen to the guitars on their own, to be honest, I think that the guitar recordings in Metropolis Ark 1 are one of the weak points of the library. And this is still the fact with Metropolis, with the Sign version as well. So they sound a little bit bitey on their own, but that's due to the mix that they're sitting in. But when you listen to the guitars, without that Infinity EQ that I have on the group, then this is what they sound like from the get-go. Let me quickly turn that on, then I can jump back here. So funny enough, it's in there, but yeah, I wanted to dive a little bit into that little track that I wrote. So let's. My mic is not solo safe. That's bad. Sorry for that. Solo safe. Thank you. Go away. Go away, I said. Is there an alternative to Metropolis Ark that can also be used for softer cinematic music? Well, technically, I guess Ark 2 is more on the softer side. But this right now, Metropolis Ark is really about balls to the wall. So let's take a quick listen to the strings on their own. And by the way, all the patches are in their default mic position, so I didn't change anything there. Upsala. So, just taking a look here at the strings. It's overall, I went for a very, very bright sound on the strings. So if you play them on their own, oops, and the guitar, I just died of a heart attack. So I forgot to mention. So you need the slate, so the virtual mix rack. There is an instance of the virtual bus compressor on the master, which is technically not essential. I just realized this one is off anyway. Why is that? Should be on. Just load it and then it's on. So I love that on the master bus without any settings, just putting it in there. That makes all the difference. And on the master track, I do have an instance of the FabFilter Pro L2 for mastering. But don't worry if you don't have that one. This is not essential. So if you get an error message upon opening the project, you can just ignore it and then replace the missing plugin here with whatever limiter you prefer on your output, on your stereo bus. But it adds quite a significant amount of gain. So raising it by 3, actually it's not that much. So when I take that off, yay, a custom icon. Thank you, Blue Oceans, appreciate it. So that's the volume without the limiter. What I love is the brass in Metropolis. If you listen to that on its own. Hey Aaron, hi to India. I want to quickly jump on the settings for the 9 horns here. The Hollywood preamp is great for horns. This brass has balls. There's no other way to put it. I really like that. Hi guys, great to see you around here. Thanks for tuning in. I mean, Woodwinds are underrepresented in Metropolis Ark 1, but the ones that are there have some beef as well. I tried to make the best out of the given situation, but I really wanted to stick to Metropolis Ark 1 only for this. And Percussion is also quite good, but not much in Metropolis Ark 1. So it always is, I always recommend to expand upon what you get later down the line with other libraries. I mean, what Woodwinds would you add? Since this is Metropolis from Berlin, first choice would likely be Berlin Woodwinds. So I would add an instance of contact, route that directly to, okay, now I don't have a Woodwind high because the Woodwind low. There are only low Woodwinds in there. Little tip, if you want to add instruments and are missing some buses, So what you do is you bring in the summing channels. So this is where the instruments get summed up. And we just saw we have no woodwinds high. So the easiest way is to duplicate the summing bus and rename it to woodwind high. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So now, and this automatically gets routed to the woodwind stem bus because we duplicated the other. You can see that here, that goes to woodwinds. So this one goes now to woodwinds. So let's try that again. Add an instrument, contact, and route that to woodwind high. Unfortunately, it does not sort it alphabetically right away. So when you restart, the next time it would be sitting right here above the woodwind low. So woodwind high, sending it there. So then we have an instance of contact. The settings for this, so I am on the sine player version here. The settings for the sine player, just so you're aware, I have the pre-gain at -12. So sine is brutally loud. So if you want to have some kind of proper gain setting, the contact version, for example, is sitting at -5 in the pre-gain to get some proper leveling done. So the sine is sitting at -12, just so you know. Since I now added contact, I would likely change that to kind of -5, -6, depends on the levels. So do that and send it to the woodwind reverbs right away. And also to the delay if needed. So turn that down. I don't need it right away. And then I would open that up and go to Woodwinds, Orchestral Tools, Berlin Woodwinds. And unfortunately, this is the first instance of contact that I'm opening up. So the quick load takes a little to process and get loaded. So what I want to do right away is actually duplicate this and make this my instance that is always sitting open. I told that in my other streams with a quick load template as well. The first time you open contact, it takes a while till the quick load is fully rendered and fully loaded into the system. But contact has a bug. Whenever you close the GUI and reopen it, this process starts from the beginning again, which kind of makes the whole thing of quickly being able to load instruments kind of obsolete. So until this is fixed, the only solution is to have a second instance of contact lying around that you either hide. If you only have one screen, hide in some corner on the screen, or if you have several screens, it's even easier to put it on a second screen on the side, and then it is not in the way. And that way, the quick load will always be accessible because one instance of contact is always open. So just waiting till that is finished. And I can also hide this right now. I don't need this. I just need the first instance. But since you asked which woodwinds I would add to that, and it's actually true, yeah, you don't find a lot of woodwinds in epic music and trailer music. There is definitely an absence of it. I personally am also not the greatest woodwind writer. Honestly, this is not my forte. So, but let's try. Wonderful. What did I do? I moved my Berlin Woodwinds. That's why this is happening. Okay, let's make a long story short. Do that right from here. So I'll bring that volume to 101, which translates to -6. Okay, this is done, and add some reverb. Could bring down the pre-gain quite a bit more to make that sit a little bit better in the environment there. Little tip on the side, if you want to bring the woodwind a little bit further back, switch the reverb to pre-fader instead of post-fader and bring the fader down a little. Can put that to the extreme. The further down you bring the fader, the further away the sound appears. And up a little. So then we could bring, maybe for the main melody in the end. Is there any cheaper woodwind I can recommend? Let's check the list. What do we have in the woodwind department? We do have Sonoscore, the orchestra, which I don't have in the list here. Funny enough, Audio Imperial Nucleus has some great woodwinds, of course. So the flutes are really good. Lacking a little bit of legato, to be honest. Adio has some gorgeous woodwinds. Where did I just move Adio? That was not intended. There. That needs to go there, and then I need to lock it, and then you don't move the woodwinds around. So I hope this works now. I rearranged a bunch of my libraries, to be honest. So let's check the Claire flute. And the Claire package was recently on sale for, I don't know, 39 for each. So ADO, then Nucleus, we mentioned that. There we are, best service. The orchestra definitely has some nice articulations in there. By the way, there will be a template, a full template for the orchestra any time in the not so far future. Cinesamples, but they're definitely also on the pricier side, so they're definitely not cheap. But they're very good as well. I do not have the intimate woodwinds, so I can't really tell you anything on these. Project Sam has just a little bit of stuff. Red Room Audio, I just got the effects here. Spitfire Albion 1 has, well, the Albion 1 woodwinds are great as well. But Albion 1 comes at $400 as well. By the way, that gives me time to update my orchestral tools Berlin woodwinds. So I just take the instruments here and move them there. So now that folder is updated again. Can lock that and get rid of the browser. So now I can change the instruments here. So again, ADO the Claire is the one I have. Nucleus has woodwinds. The orchestra, Cinesamples definitely on the better side. The question is not really if you can utilize the Pro in this template. Technically, yes, but there's a little bit of work involved because this is intended as a way to work within Cubase itself. Meaning one instrument, one instance per instrument, be it sine or in the Contact 6 version, there's also, and what is it, 110? No, not even. It's not that much. If we get rid of the group tracks, I can tell you that it's 77 instances. So, no, 131. Because I got rid of, yeah, show all tracks, please. There we go. And now get rid of the group tracks. So this is all the instrument tracks, and so 132. And if you were to translate that onto the Pro, it's not easy. It's not complicated, but it's also not easy. So let me just show you what you would need to do if you were to translate that onto the Pro. So obviously, first thing you would need to do is add an instance. Well, you would need to start the Pro first and foremost. Come on. So vPro running. So then I would need to add an instance of, no, vPro usually is not a track instrument, but a rack instrument. Because you have a lot of MIDI channels that are connected to vPro. So create a new instance of Violin Ensemble Pro. Let's create a MIDI channel for that. Move that all the way to the top. So this MIDI channel is now connected to the Pro. And obviously right now there is no instance initiated. So we need to connect. This is the local vPro that I just opened. Name that MA1, Metropolis Ark 1. And I mean, I can keep it connected to the project, or I can disconnect it to be able to switch between projects without reloading. And on the Pro, you can now see we have that new instance. So we can then insert sine, for example. Adding a new instance of sine, and in this I could load, let's bring that down here, browse, orchestra, strings. I need to make that a little bit wider here. Sorry. And start with the legato patch. So now we have the legato patch in VE Pro loaded. What you would then need to do is to first route it correctly. So that goes to string high short, and we need to actually it needs to go to string high long. Sorry. So long story short, you need to do this for every instrument and every channel, which kind of beats the purpose of the whole template. I mean, I'm selling this for the fact of you being able to utilize it right away and not do this work. Technically, it's possible. And maybe as a future update, I can do a VE Pro version of that. That is something that I could look into later down the line. But it's a little bit more complicated with giving away VE Pro versions because of file path and stuff like that. So a lot of stuff that is just because it's working on my system does not mean it's working on a client system as well. So that's a little bit more complicated. It's easier with the stuff you have within Cubase itself. Long story short, let's get rid of this VE Pro for now. It's possible to do, but I would not necessarily right away recommend it to do it. What I did not do is, I was thinking of, since this is the sine version, of integrating the layers into this, because it's a free library, and if you have the if you have the sine player, you do have this one as well, because it's a freaking free library. So when I say let's duplicate that last string patch here, and open sine, then I could say, okay, let's browse the strings and delete this and load the strings. Technically, I think I should have added that right away from the get-go, because it's actually a nice add-on. But then it's not compatible with the contact version anymore, so that's the downside. To be honest, this is actually pretty amazing. Know what? I will do an update for the Metropolis Ark template and put this into, because if you have Sine, you definitely have this library as well, or can get it because it's free. So that might be a good add-on, and you have some high woodwinds then within the same template. That brings me to an idea. Would you guys like that, to have an update free of charge? I can do that, and I will do that. I will add in the string chord. So this is string chords. Let's give that a dedicated color. The routing, where did I send it to? To string low long. Let's send this to string high low to start with. Again, there are presets included in the template that you can add on. Hey Flozy, thanks for getting the template. I just saw your email. Very much appreciated. So I will bring in layers as an additional instance, so you can utilize that in the template as well. Hey RP 7 beats, Damien. This template is for Arc 1. And where are the key switches for this one? So 2 octaves below that. That's actually pretty great. I didn't even think about that to include that. Change that with the Woodwinds. That didn't work. That's cool. Cool. Okay, I will do that. I will do an update for Metropolis Ark with this very free library. That's coming soon. So, other than that, there's not much left to do. I would not necessarily want to jump in and write something with it right now, because I already did that and I played you the track that I did with it. You can digest that in your home base on your system with everything that's happening in there in terms of harmonic. Just a quick explanation for the chords. So this is a little bit strange on this one. I went with my gut feeling there. So it starts on D minor. We'll be willing to do something for Symphony Essentials. I'm definitely looking into that. Absolutely. So the whole track starts on D minor. And the next part is a little bit strange. So it starts on D minor. So we go from D minor to C sharp major. Does Sign have a keyboard? Yes. So the stream went offline on Twitch. That is strange, to say the least. Why is Twitch offline? Let me check that quickly. Twitch.tv/composing tutorials. It is offline here too. What a friggin' nightmare. I'm sorry for that. I don't really know why that is. I can only say, let's go here. So, yeah, D minor to C sharp major, D minor to C sharp major again. Then I think I go to C minor. What did I do then? Oh yeah. From C minor to A major 7. And then from C minor 7 to F major. And then the big part on B major to A flat major, B flat major to A flat major. Then back to B flat major to C. A minor. D major 7. Then E B major. Back to the A major 7 again. And ending on D minor again. B major, A major, A flat major, up to C, So, no, I do rarely, if ever, use a chord track. Back then on a few streams, I used to use a chord track to showcase the chords that are happening in the track. I may return to that, actually. It's not a bad idea. But yeah, I myself, when I write, I do not use a chord track. But I really love the chord progression of this whole thing. It kind of came when the template was done, and then I wanted to write something, and it came on it just auto-magically. Very, very funny little chord progression there. Flosy, you're welcome. Keep them coming. I will, promised. I already wrote 10 times more this week than the whole June. What is your plan for next time? Well, that's great to hear. I mean, that's what it's all about. Just to get you guys writing, not care about the technical side of things. By the way, I think that the drums from Metropolis Ark turned out pretty cool in terms of sound. So this is what they sound like. That's the processing on the bus. That's what they sound like out of the box. Quite a difference. So, yeah, pretty much that's all there is. As I said, I personally consider the guitars of Metropolis Ark as the weak point of the library. But I tried my best on that part here to make it big. So when we listen to the guitars and the drums on their own, actually wondering. And remember when I said in the beginning, even with the EQ, that the guitars sound pretty harsh. This is the EQ setting on the guitar bus. Actually crazy. Listen to that with the EQ off. Just the guitars. This is how they sound out of the box. This is what they sound. Tune track is a solution. In regards to what? So, Kjordan, welcome to the family. Gullfoss would definitely make that job easy as well, but since I am using the Slate model on this track for everyone who intends to get the template, it's just way easier to use the stuff that is included in Slate. So I went with the Infinity EQ instead of initially I had FabFilter on that. So I wanted to try, when I decide not to go with stock plugins for a mix, I still wanted to have it as accessible as possible. So, and I know that a lot of people have the Slate subscription, so that's the easiest way to go, and it's just extremely efficient on CPU. That's the main reason for me to jump with that. When you have like 120 tracks, and every single track needs or potentially needs compression, EQing, saturation, and all its stuff. I mean, look at this. This whole thing is 10 gigabytes in size. I have 120, 130 instances with one instance of Slate each, and a bunch of send effects and master channel treatment. And it's not even sitting at 50%. I mean, I have a very good system. That's given, but even on smaller scale systems, this should be able to run flawlessly. And even if it doesn't, with a one instance per instrument approach, it's very easy to either freeze instrument or render in place. So you say, I just want to tweak that trombone flutter further. You can just say edit render in place, render settings, channel settings as one event, render. To be honest, that should have not taken that long. Usually that's way faster. I think my system just crashed on running OBS in the background. But yeah, so then you have the effects applied. And can go from there. So cool little trick there. I think that it is it for the template. And what I'm gonna do is actually close this and load the contact version just so you have a comparison. Let's quickly look at that. So Cubase is sitting at, yeah, right around 13 gigs of RAM with 130 instances, 132 instances of Sign Player with the project. So I keep the screen open so you see what's happening, but it will likely take a minute till the other project is loaded. So I'm going to load the switch to the contact version, just so you see that it's pretty much the same thing, just with a different player. And I'm actually interested in how big that is in terms of RAM load. So I'll be in the chat, see you around in a second. At least you get the audio back in a little bit. So there we are, back again. And now you have an idea how long it takes to load the full template. Let me switch that back to solo save and hide the channel. Don't need that here. So this is the contact version. Same thing. Sound should be pretty much the same. There are slight differences between the contact and the Sign edition in Metropolis, mostly in the guitars. So they laid that out a little bit differently. But the sound is pretty much the same. Somehow it sounds like a little bit like the contact version has even some more balls to it. But yeah, other than that, principle is the same. You got single instruments. Every instrument hosts one single instance of Metropolis Ark instrument. With this template, obviously, it's easier to expand that if you have more than one instance of Metropolis. So if you, for example, have Metropolis 2, then you could say, okay, take the sustains, duplicate them, and instead of Metropolis Arc 1 sustain strings, we then load the Metropolis Arc 2 strings and instantly you can expand upon the existing template. But damn, listen to that noise floor. That's crazy. And the same thing applies even if you have Metropolis Ark 4, for example. I love 4. One of my most favorite libraries that I ever had my hands on. Very nice. It's awfully quiet in the chat, but we are live still, right? Just let me know and give me a sign of life so I know we are still on. So you know the drill, it's working. Let's delete the whole thing and see what it's like to work with it. So the template is pretty much the same when you open the non-trailer version. There's no MIDI data in it, so this is pretty much what the empty template looks like when you open it up. The contact version, for example. I feel like the other stream just ended. Yeah, kind of is like that. Because it was just recently. So we duplicated this, and now we can add on other instruments. Or, for example, if you have time micro. Do I have time micro? Here I have time. You can add these instruments. Okay. Know what? Let's write something a little bit beefy. With a rare stream today, I went a little bit more soft. So let's kick some bells, balls. Okay, something like that. Retrospective record, I love you. Nah. Oh. There we go. Oh, by the way, all the patches are also pre-set up with a negative track delay, so you don't need to worry about that. Every single patch that needs a negative track delay has that applied, to my knowledge. Okay, not all the patches. The patches I didn't use in the trailer still sit at 0. But you could say, let's go with the drums. When you mix the drums properly, they sound pretty beefy. Again, the sound, let's see if that works. Yay! I just set that up so that my complete control opens the first insert slot on Cubase. That's very helpful. So that is the sound of the drums straight out of the box. And that is with the slate. So I like that sound. Work great with the track. Might not work with this one. But let's see. Want to have quarter notes. Actually very quiet. Not doing much. So it looks like I started on 4. Like that. Duplicate this. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Eighth notes. This drum setting working for Superior Drummer? No. Because that is completely different source material. So this is not working for Superior Drummer. Not at all. Not by a small chance. This is really based on the drum sound for the Metropolis Ark kit, which is very roomy and recorded in the Teldec studio. So if you would apply that preset to virtual Easy Drummer, for example, or Superior, it wouldn't work. I could even try how it sounds, but it doesn't really make sense. Interestingly enough, the Contact version is needs a little bit more beef on the CPU than the Sign Player version. So the Sign Player was a tad below 50%. The Contact version is quite a bit higher, 10-15% higher in CPU usage. And the RAM, see, that is sitting at 22 gigs of RAM versus Sign had like, what was it, 13? So that's actually pretty interesting. So you definitely need a little bit more beef on the pan for the Contact version. Well done, Orchestral Tools. That means their Sign Player is pretty effective. I just saw that there is a spider web in front of the camera. See that? On the right side of the screen. I don't want that. That wide angle looks so funny when you get close with a hand. I have endless long arms. So, anyway, back to topic. I mean, there's not much percussion in Metropolis Ark, but a little bit. So let's go with that. Little 16th roll there, I messed that up significantly. So I want not hard quantize, just a little bit, and then go to 16th. And well, I didn't mess up enough to make the quantization not realize what I did. So at least there's that. What about OTT? Don't use it in this template? Correct. I don't use OTT in this template because I didn't need to. And I used the Slay. I used OTT in Nucleus because I mixed Nucleus mainly with stock plugins and I needed that beef on the horns, which came from OTT. In this template, I specifically went for the Slate bundle for mixing and for the Slate virtual mix rack. And that's why I didn't need the OTT, because the horns sound freaking balls to the wall. That's the plugin setting here. So that's without, which is already quite a good chunk of beef. But when you add the Slate, the preset, I love the Hollywood preamp on horns, no matter what library that is. It just sounds amazing. Okay, let's add high strings unison. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to do diddle it, diddle it, diddle it, diddle it. So I'm going to quick step record that. And since we're changing to D on the second one, well, maybe we stay on G, like a pedal tone. The slate settings do come with a template. So when you get the template, this whole bank for the Metropolis Ark template, this all comes with it. Correct. So for the individual instruments, for the stems, so for example, it's saving the drum stem as this setting is sitting on the drum stem. And see, I brought it down nearly 5 dB because it beefed it up quite a bunch. So no, that's actually the drum insert. I'm talking about the stems. So the stems have their own slate settings. So on the drums, for example, come on, that's sitting on the drum bus. So these settings come with the template. So that makes it easier if you work on another template, or if you, for example, got the quick load template and just decide to load in the spiccato unison, for example. Let's say you are working in the quick load template and you load the spiccato patch. I mean, they sound pretty beefy already on their own, and they run through this stem bus. I went for a very aggressive string sound on this one, so let me quickly turn off the string stem treatment. So that's the sound out of the box from Metropolis Ark, without the reverb, honestly. So, and when you work in another template, not in this one, you can just slam in the Slate virtual mix rack, open it up, and slam in, you import this bank, and then you can say, I need the strings high short. Versus so, and this is the same for all the other instruments. So the low strings, that's the setting out of the box. And the mix on the slate. Especially the compression is very important on the low strings to tame that whole low end a little bit. Quite a chunk of reverb on there. And when I bring back in the stem treatment, then it sounds like this. Very beefy, but that's what I went for with this whole sound. So it's definitely not your bread and butter stuff for sweeping romantic ballads. That's definitely not the sound you get with this. Then I could technically move that onto the higher. So then we could add a little bit of horns here. On the last one, we can use a crescendo. So unfortunately, I need to count how long that is. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So it's 6 beats. And then I would do, because I don't want to have the D on that chord, I would bring the expression all the way down. And only bring it in from bar 10. So if we look at the expression data, you see that it's only coming in here, so we don't hear that part. And that way it still sits where it should. I think I can tame that a little bit. It's a little bit... Yeah, that's a little bit more what we need here. You gotta be careful to not overdo it, because and cool thing is that it makes it very easy to layer stuff. So we could put the same crescendo on the tubas. And I could double the line from the horns and the strings. Oops. What did I do in the horns here? First of all, I need to hard quantize these guys. Oh, I start on the 1. Understood. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's this wonderful blurred patch that is great for this. Creating a little bit of tension. Don't want to go overboard. We need a crash cymbal here. Was a little bit loud. Just a tiny bit of pitch bend gives you that little downfall. I think the second one isn't even needed. And the glissandi patch are actually great as well, because they just go on and on and on. You can start at some point and just bring them in with CC11 whenever you want them to hear. So turn it off and then bring in CC11. Well, at some point they're obviously gone, but so let's see if that worked. So I only need them till then. And right here, I cut them off again. So and they would obviously need some reverb and maybe even some delay. We're not talking about the most realism here. So, I mean, you can hear where this is going, so I could go on and on and on, but yeah, 2 streams a day is just because I released this today, and I just want to show you guys what's inside and what you can do with it. It just sounds friggin' badass. By the way, on this one, I still have the FEP filter sitting on the master. I mentioned that in the manual as well. If you do not have the FEP filter L2, don't you worry. I really only have that on there for loudness purposes to bring the master track up to par. If you open the project and you do not have the Pro L2, you will get an error message that a plugin is missing, and then you will see that this is grayed out. So you can easily just get rid of this plugin. So this is the sound without my L2 on there. So it's not doing that much. Right now, with all the gain staging, the signal is sitting at around -3 on the master. So technically one could bring that down a little bit more. But yeah, and then you can apply whatever mastering or limiting, let's put it like that, limiting plugin you prefer on your stereo bus. Other than that, I think that's it. Just wanted to give a quick insight into what is in the template. Again, you get the contact version and the sine version. Any other instrument or sound to replace with MA2, 3, 4 time macro or time micro? Well, I mean, once you have the template, you can go nuts with whatever you want. So if you say the spiccato unison is nice, but I love the repetition patches from Metropolis Ark 3, you don't even you could either reload it here, or you could just duplicate the full track, delete the MIDI data on there, open the plugin. I actually have that on a quick key switch O for open, and then you head into the high strings and say I need the 16th. Didn't Spitfire release a library recently that does the same thing, just repetitions? So, but anyway, so then you can add that in. I mean, that was very roughly improvised, but and this needs to be hard quantized. And I think on the GUI you need to say lock to beat. So let's see how that sounds. I think I will put that like it's already a little bit earlier, -45, something like that. What does it sound like when I put it to 0? Maybe it doesn't need track delay. Flowsy, you put Araya into Nucleus template. Awesome. That's the way to do it. And that's the way it is intended. All the routings are there. You just need to duplicate and put a new track in there and you're done. No, actually it works better with -50 or something like that. I think -60 is even better. That would be in line with cinematic studio strings and stuff like that. I mean, that gap was my fault. That works pretty great. So you could say I want to have a tad more reverb on this one. And if you want to have the strings a little bit more aggressive, because it seems like they're a little bit softer than the Metropolis Ark strings, the Metropolis Ark 1 strings, I would go for, yeah, maybe London or New York in front of it, push it, and then just dial that in until it beefs. And also you could get rid of the low end. So pretty much like that. And instantly last but not least, what we need is this guy. And there you go, immediate trailerization of a track. You could add the toms at the end here. Yeah, let's just add the... Have you ever done a CTO with free plugins like BB says? No, I have not yet. And I mean, I definitely didn't walk the BBCSO route because obviously Spitfire offers all that. So Spitfire has all the templates for Logic, Cubase, I think even Studio One for their BBC Orchestra. So there's no need for me to do a template for that. That's already available out there. But there's some stuff. I got a great comment on YouTube today from someone who thought of that it might be good to do something like this, like templates for, because a lot of people have complete, either complete ultimate or the regular complete. And there's already a ton of stuff in there that no one really ever uses. So why not make some people aware of it and do a template with just a complete only sound? There is a ton of great stuff in there that already helps creating great tracks. I actually wanted to do a stream at some point doing just working with complete sounds and see what we can do with it. So I think that goes hand in hand a little. So this is something that I plan for the near future. Not really sure if we need the guitar there, but the bass maybe. The short ones. That bass is friggin' badass. That's the initial sound. That's actually a preset that comes with the Slate. I think I took the bass too and just tweaked it a little to my liking. So there's not much to it, but it sounds great. Something like that. And I would bring the volume down on this one. This is pretty loud. Take that one tip for this type of template. Take the bass shorts and duplicate them with the Pizcolanio from the low strings. Solo and solo. This is something that rips the flesh out of your ears. I like that. Okay, let's do one big boom. Let's take these two. Yeah, actually, let's do that screen there in the end. That's funny. Percussion hits. And obviously we need the tuba staccato. Timbasi staccato. Horns A3. A9. Let's do the cluster there. Trumpet cluster on top, not as loud. Crescendo short. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 2, 3, 4, 1. Let's take these guys. 1, 2, 3. And add this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And we can, last but not least, add same on the women. And obviously guitars need to be silent after. Damn it. There we go. So copy these both. Because there's a strange release noise, even though I hit the silence key there. So I just want to make sure that. So CC11 silences that note off signal. Oh! Forgot this one. And I intentionally do not quantize this. So everything is played live. So it just gives a sense of not everything strong to the grid. Just want to add that cluster sound. Just trying to figure out. That one is nice. So I'm going to listen to the strings on their own. So, little track in a few minutes with that template. Could there be done more? Of course. Could there be done less? Of course. And it's a little bit unfair. I added Metropolis Ark 3. I think that sounds pretty ballsy and pretty big. So saving that, I actually resaved my contact trailer version. It doesn't matter. Can re-download it. And so yeah, that's pretty much all for now. I just wanted to show you the quick load, not the quick load, the Metropolis Ark template for Cubase. I don't know how much this is going to be transferred over to other DAWs. If there's a dire need for Logic or even Studio One, although Studio One is harder to do because of the problem with the track delay. Hey Andres, I'm new here and also new at these things. How many instruments do you play here at most at the same time? In this specific thing that I just built, let me quickly just show the instruments that we use. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's 16 instruments here, and I think this is, what is it? 16 as well, with obviously a few notes here and there that are several notes. So can I get rid of this? So this is what I played in here. It sounds pretty massive, despite, but that's the beauty of this library. There's just the sound is just amazing how well it works all together. I got rid of the L2 on the master fader here. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, so it contains the same stemming system. So actually, let's do that just for the sake of so you know how it works. So you could say export none here. In Cubase, you can do multiple export, and then you can filter just by the underscore. And that gives you the stems. If you want to stem out the subgroups without the send effects like delay or reverb, then you select plus plus, and then you can render out the subgroups without reverb. But we are going for the stems, so we take these guys and do the master as well. So we do the master and the stems at the same time. And I want to re-import it into this project. And just to be fail-safe, I want to do it from a even bar, maybe even from bar 1. So we have 2 bar count in. And say I want to insert it in. The usual setting is this, but if you want to re-import the audio into the project, you hit create audio track. That means it will be inserted into the pool and it will create an audio track. And I will actually use the audio project folder to render this. So, and this is CTO Ark. And you can see here that it automatically names the stems based on the name of the stem groups. So let's just quickly hit export audio. I will be muted for that time, but you see the progress bar. Meanwhile, we can just have a nice chat in the chat. So there we go. There we go. Remember that the bounce in place took longer than the whole track with all the stems? That's crazy. So let's quickly just mute the whole shebang here. We don't need the actual instruments. We can close that. So these are the audio stems rendered out. This is the master. Let's mute that. When I switch back and forth between the master and the stems, there will be an audible difference because I have some effects on the master. I just want to make sure that there is no other audio coming through. Okay, it is not. So these are the stems. That's the master. And cool thing, of course, is with audio, you can do some nice shebang. You can say, okay, I don't want to have the percussion, do an alt mix of this. And it's way faster with audio. So you get the idea behind it. So integrated stemming system. And if you say the strings, I need them stemmed out into low strings, high strings, short strings, etc., then instead of the underscore string stem, you just render the plus plus and maybe the string reverb extra. So you have everything in one place. That was a lot of talking, but I really wanted to show you how that works. I hope you like it. I hope you dig it. It's available at store.composingtutorials.com. Intro price is $39 for a week, and then it goes to $49. I hope you dig it, and let me know what you do with it. Maybe send a track if you wrote something with it. I would love to hear what you do with it and what it sounds like. If you have any suggestions, questions, or anything else, just leave a comment below. If you have not yet, hit that subscribe button and ding the bell to be notified when the next live stream goes online. And yeah, what can I say? Thank you very much for tuning in, and I appreciate any support I can get. There's also a Patreon that I've set up that allows you to get one-on-one coaching sessions and track reviews and stuff like that. Join the Discord server that's growing really good right now, so a lot of people come in there. I hang out there pretty much all day during the day, have the running on the side. So if you have questions, if you just want to hang out with like-minded people and get some feedback, there's a track feedback section and stuff like that. You can even self-promote if you want to at some in some server areas. So yeah, come in there. Some sections are Patreon only, of course. I mean, there need to be some perks. Otherwise, why would you need a Patreon? A patron. So yeah, lots of good stuff coming, and I'm working hard behind the scenes on my first premium course that is coming soon on writing. I will tell you later. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time.